Ladies and gentlemen, people and persons, this is your 30-minute end of pop culture as you know it. I am your co-host, Gnarly Quinn, joined by the main man, Matthias, and we would like to welcome you to your weekly pop culture apocalypse.
All right, Matthias.
All right. You ready, Quinn?
Ready when you are.
Okay. I'd like to continue the whole Mount Rushmore thing we did a few weeks ago.
Ooh.
To recap, do you remember who your Mount Rushmore heroes were?
Yes. I might be missing one. One may have changed, but either way, yes, I do remember.
Okay. All right. Well, today we're doing the opposite of that. We're picking the Mount Rushmore comic book villains.
Ooh.
In some ways, this is probably a bit easier. In some ways, it's probably harder than hell. So,
yeah.
do you want me to go ahead and go first until you get kind of a beat on it?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I'm gonna do my honorable mentions real quick. I have 3 of them that didn't quite make the mountaintop or the face of the mountain. So for the first one's Ultron. I really wanted him on here because that son of a he's so tenacious. The other one is Darkseid, and I don't need to explain why. The other one is the reverse. Right, and the other one is the Reverse Flash. He is the newest one, not just because of the show, but because I watched that Flashpoint cartoon.
Yeah.
He's an act. He's an act. His only reason is to just make Barry's life a living hell.
Yeah.
But, okay.
He's very good at being cunning, too.
He is. All right, here's my first pick. The first 3 are kind of no-brainers for some people. The 4th one is one I think we mentioned earlier, but I don't think we had recording yet. My first one is Dr. Doom from knowing him from the Fantastic Four. He is the number 1 most wanted on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s list, the arch enemy of the Fantastic Four. His science and sorcery is on par with people like Iron Man, Black Panther. He's on the top S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most wanted list. The Fantastic Four's arch enemy. His science and sorcery is on par with if not more than on par with the likes of Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Black Panther. He's that villain you love, you hate to love to hate, whatever you want to say. And also his people from Latveria worship him because he is a great leader. I will say that. And he does not put up with bullcrap. I don't need to say any more on that. Number 2 is Shredder from the Ninja Turtles.
That's a good one.
Cartoon from 2012, the one that was on Nickelodeon. I believe that captures him the best. It shows his raw, let me think about this. His obsession with wanting to kill, Splinter. Be better than Splinter. He will go to any lengths to get what he wants. He is a formidable warrior. Even that crossover with the Ninja Turtles with Batman, even Batman admits he is a son of a gun to fight. And all he knows is straight up ninjutsu. That's all he, like, Batman has dozens and dozens of martial arts, and then this asshole that I know of is just a ninjutsu master, and he's on par with Batman at most things. And that's saying something. But yeah, you want to... That's all I got. I mean, the movies Live action movies, I guess the only one that really caught my attention was the one from the 90s, the first one. The other ones are kind of lame. But it's just, he's always that guy that he's just a big mountain to climb to try and beat for the Turtles. And even when he loses, he comes back with a vengeance and learns his mistakes. Joe, the next third one, I don't need to know a lot, is the Joker.
Classic.
I don't need to say any more. He is pretty much
No,
the two-sided
that one's
coin.
self-explanatory.
Yeah, Batman and him are two sides of one coin. I know people may say he's overrated in like the shit movies and the games, but with him in it, it really makes Batman go to the very edge, mentally, physically, and unpredictable is just, I don't know what other word to use. Like, I'm just thinking of the Arkham games, and I'm not trying to ruin it for you, but have you beat Arkham Knight?
I have not beat Arkham Knight yet.
Okay.
However, I will say, I don't want to say it's fairly common knowledge, but I do know how it ends.
Okay. So, in the second game, he gets infected with Joker's blood. That's infected. And then in the third game, he gets sprayed with Scarecrow's fear toxin. And those combine, the whole game you're seeing visions of Joker like he's actually there. And you're slowly becoming him, which I think that's the best part of that game. Just those games, especially the third one. Even when the was dead, he still puts up a fight with Batman. You gotta love it. He might be overdone, but I think that people need to hit it more because he's just an awesome villain.
And there's
And
so much about that villain and surrounding that villain because it is one of Batman's greatest enemies, probably of all time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he has Bane and Killer Croc that can lift the car, and then you got Ra's al Ghul that can go toe to toe with his skills, and like Riddler that can match his brains, But you got this son of a gun who is not the strongest, the smartest. He's just Joker. He's one guy that had a bad day. Now, I haven't seen that Joker movie yet, but I hear it's very relatable. And
it is pretty good.
It's just some guy who's working a 9-to-5 job and just had one bad day. Fell in a vat of acid and just lost it. Very relatable.
That, and I think that's what makes him so formidable too, because it's just pure insanity. There's no real rhyme or reason to any of it. It's just pure insanity. And in some ways, he is the smartest too, because there's always, like, one, he's always coming back. And two, how many times has he sort of outsmarted Batman in a way where Joker kind of gets his way at the end and Batman's put in a really hard spot?
And I feel everything he does is justified. Like, there is, even if it's nuts, there's some kind of point to it. Whether it's like in the movie, he says, people, when everything goes according to plan, no one goes crazy, but when things go out of line, everyone loses their freaking mind. And like watching that movie, The Dark Knight, everything he says, he's right. You know what I mean? It's just, he can't.
He's good at playing on the human nature too. And not just like Batman's nature, but the human nature all around. He's good at recognizing the insanity that happens in everyday life, and he exploits that.
Yeah. Like in the movie, you can't, he just wants to watch world burn. You can't reason with, there's no reasoning. You know, he had nothing to bargain with. It just, it's like he has, besides shooting in the head, he has like no weaknesses. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then he also exploits Batman's policy of not killing.
Yeah. Yep.
He exploits that frequently.
Yeah, I agree. And then my fourth one that I really went back and forth on. I picked him because that one episode I told you about the Justice League. It's Mongol. You know, that episode we're talking about, the man who has everything with Superman.
Yeah.
Just that one episode. Like, he's probably one of the stronger villains that go toe to toe, but just what he did to Superman it was so soul crushing. When I watch it now as a father, I almost tear up. I do. 15 years ago watching it, I'd be like, oh, whatever. Now as a father watching this and what he did, I don't know how Superman held back from killing him. And I think he's a very underused villain in Superman. Like, I get it. Lex Luthor almost made it to this list. He should have been another honorable mention. But I feel that, like, I hope James Gunn, when he does this reboot, that he at least does a thing with Mongol. I think it'd be very cool to, like, add in just War World, some kind of gladiator thing like you and I talked about before. Just to test Superman.
That'd be cool.
I feel it would be. This is just me not overthinking. If I overthink this be a list I'll be working on for about 4 years. But no. That's just my list. I thought of, like, on kind of not overthinking it. Did you ballpark yours yet?
Yeah, I did. So I definitely have 2 and potentially 3. And I know the next one will come to me as well. I'm pulling some inspiration from a lot of different pop culture, for sure. So the first one, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a interesting one. That's definitely a talking point. Homelander from The Boys.
Oh my.
I think he'd be I
completely forgot about him.
On there somewhere.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. He is.
Yeah. And just the way that the show progresses and the way that you're finding out exactly the truth about what is going on is just absolutely insane. So everyone still thinks that he's, like, just this massive hero, and you know the truth. And then towards the last couple seasons that they put out, obviously you find out that he's just kind of cracking and he's breaking, especially after the way that he was made, and he starts to understand everything, and it is crazy. And I will consider him a villain, especially from that perspective.
Yeah, he is touchbook narcissistic, god complex, but what really stands him out, because I just watched the last season last month, so good thing I did that, because we can talk about this. This season hit on, like, what really happened to him as a kid. He was honestly, like, he didn't have a childhood. He wasn't treated like a human being. At birth, everybody knew, all the people working on him, like, knew what he was going to be, because he was told what he was going to be. And he just craves that human connection that he never had. And that's pretty relatable. He's a pretty relatable guy, because not most people can, everyone craves human connection. Everybody does. Don't let no one fool you.
Yeah.
He never had it, and he's going about it all wrong. But no, he's very. The more I watch it, I just pity him. I do. I don't hate him. I just pity him.
Yeah, and it starts to get to the point where you just kind of start to feel bad for him, but then he is so good at doing something that you're like, oh, well, kind of don't feel bad for him anymore. So it's a weird mix of, oh yeah, this guy is for sure a villain, and then something from his childhood will come up, and you'll be like, oh, that is kind of sad. Like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And then he'll do something, and you're like, oh, that's messed up. That's messed up. Never mind. Never mind. Really. So number 2 on that list would probably be Darth Vader, honestly. Just because he's classic. Especially in the Star Wars universe, just an utter beast. And even from the books, I have not read the books, but what I have gotten from the books is that just ruthless, utter ruthlessness. And I think the movies do a good job of showing why and kind of developing that story. But yeah, and even in some of the animated series, there's flashes of exactly why he's just such a great villain. Just always comes back to, and is always, he's pretty smart too.
He's almost in kind of a line how Homelander is. He just craves connection and insecure. Very big borderline personality disorder. He hates sand.
Yeah.
But you don't. I understand why you picked him. That's a good pick. But you don't.
Yeah, just super classic, and also one thing that I look for in my villains is good foe, somebody who can constantly be a threat and constantly come up with new ways to be a threat, or strive for something bigger, especially on villain terms. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna conquer the world. It's like, nope. And you get a good story behind them. You get a good backstory. You get a good story arc into either how they became the villain or why they are the way that they are. And they just did a great job with all of it, all around.
Indeed.
I think my third one. The third one's pretty hard. It was a toss-up between the Joker, but then digging deeper into it, I think I'd have to go with the original Red Hood. That is where Jason kind of pulled his name from, actually. He just kind of picked up the name and was like, all right, I'm going to turn this around. But that's also how big of an impact.
All right, you talking about the Jason Todd Red Hood or pre-Joker Red Hood?
The OG pre-Joker Red Hood.
Okay. Solid pick. Solid pick.
For me, it seemed like it was kind of the beginning of not just one character, but 2. And it's kind of like when you look at the whole picture, it's very small, comparatively speaking. Not a whole lot of people actually talk about it or sit down and actually consider the story. But I think that's one that it didn't just create one character, it created 2.
Yeah.
Even though it was such a small, short-lived character, they went on to build such a great thing from it.
Yes. Yep. Good foundation. Yep. I agree with that.
Man. The last one's always a rough one.
It is. It is tough. See, that's why I'm thinking, okay, if I can't think of someone evil, I'll think of something relatable. Like what? That's kind of why I come with Mongol. I'm like, okay, who can I pick? Who can I pick? And I'm like, all right, I'm picking that one comic that really got to me. So that's why that's the easiest thing I tell you is try to find something that really just hit it for you.
That, and I'm trying not to overthink this again, because if not, I'd be here for the next 7 years trying to decide exactly who I'm going to pick. But I think I'm going to go with a fun one, actually, something that's a little more lighthearted. And we talked about him before, Mr. Mixapitalik, or however you would say his name.
Mix is Spitlix, whatever the hell. Yeah. Yep.
Mix is that guy. Just because he's a good villain in terms of he kind of pops up every now and again just to kind of mess with the clergy almost. Just to kind of throw a wrench in things. Just enough. But then, and this is just from a few of the Batman comics that I've seen where he appears, where he kind of messes with Bruce Wayne's brain. He'll mess with Batman's brain for a little bit, and then Batman will be like, all right, where are you? And then they'll sit down and he'll be like, okay, I had my fun. I'm going back now. I'm done. So it's just kind of like a fun little...
It is. Like, he's somebody who could literally snap his fingers and all of reality could be gone. But he's like, what's the fun in that?
Yeah. Yeah, he realizes kind of how powerful he is, but he's like, nah, I'm going to have fun with it. But I'm still going to be a villain a little bit. I'm still not going to be the good guy. And he screws with things just enough to make it interesting.
Yeah, just like if Thanos, all tough guy, had like the gauntlet with the Infinity Stones, and he's like, I can snap my fingers, and Mix your Spitlix is like, you need a gauntlet and stones to do that?
That's cute.
Yeah.
He's like, that's cute, dude. Yeah.
You bust your ass all these years, and I can just do it like whenever. I can see that's a good pick. That is fun. That is fun. That's a fun pick.
And I could have probably thrown in an honorable mention. So I'd probably, and this is a tough one too. Because obviously somebody like Galactus.
Yeah.
I could throw them in there for sure. I always like Galactus just because the sheer power and just the sheer size of everything on that level. But I don't know, for me it's too big of a level for me personally. I always like the smaller, more relatable villains.
Yes, that's how I feel about like my heroes. It's the more relatable human. Yeah, that's a very vague word, but that's how I like my heroes anymore. I hate to cut this short, Quinn.
Yeah.
We'll pick this up Monday. We talk a little bit about it more. But there is a one topic that I like to talk about that's probably going to take us a couple sessions.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's going to be about what makes the perfect warrior. Because that's my favorite class in anything like fantasy-wise.
Ooh.
And I'm trying to pick 2 or 3 warriors from fiction to get my reference from, and we'll tackle that another time. But I got to get going, Quinn.
Yeah, we'll get some good ideas.
I will talk to you later, and we'll pick this up and rock on.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today. Be sure to tune in next week for your weekly Pop Culture Apocalypse.